it says here, fully funded public transit. And I thought, wow, I really don't know what that means because I haven't seen fully funded public transit here in San Francisco. So this seems to be a real easy topic for me to talk about. I often ask this question to the muni transit operators, the operators that have been here 10, 20, 30 years, and oftentimes they all get the answer wrong. I say, what is the most famous public transportation in the world? And oftentimes I get the same answer. They say Boston, Chicago, New York, London. They say Japan sometimes, right? And then I say, well, you know, actually, one of the most, not the most famous public transportation in the world is actually us. It's Muni. People come here from every single nation on earth to ride our public transportation vehicles. No one on earth has cable cars. World famous F-lines. The vintage cars that come out once a year, that people wait for annually to come here. And then I leave that notion in their minds, and then they say, really, are you sure? I said, yeah. And then I said, you know, you're not really gonna hear anybody saying, hey, Carl, let's go down to Mexico and ride the Mexican buses in Chihuahua. As nice as the Mexican buses in Chihuahua are, you're not gonna get that many tourists riding Mexican buses in Chihuahua, as nice as they are. But they will say, hey, Carl, let's go down to San Francisco and ride the cable cars, the F-line, world famous historical vehicles, the vintage cars that come out, I think, in September during Heritage Week. I don't remember the exact month. They come out once a year. And so, with that being stated, why is it that Muni is on the decline year after year? Muni operators, there was this very interesting notion just a few years ago that the agency used to say. The agency used to say, you know, we have a line of people just waiting outside our doors, waiting to be Muni transit operators. There's rows and rows and blocks of people waiting to be Muni transit operators. That might have been the case several years ago, maybe a decade, and that's definitely not the case anymore. These past couple of months, we've been garnering so much media coverage and publicity in terms of the reality that a transit operator has to go through on a daily basis. When an operator gets inside his or her vehicle, the bus, the train, the cable car, they oftentimes on a daily basis have to wear many different hats. They have to be a teacher and a parent and a guidance counselor and a conflict manager and a security guard and a nurse, etc. And the amount of stress, workload that the operators endure on a daily basis is not reflected in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. There's a misconception out here with the general public oftentimes thinks that all transit operators make $130,000 a year, they make $46 an hour. That is absolutely not the case. You know, just last month in December 2018, Supervisor Riley Brown pointed out to the fact that transit operators and new hirees don't even qualify to get on the list for low-income affordable housing. So that notion, that misconception that operators are making $250,000 or $130,000 a year, it's completely incorrect. Completely incorrect. Due to the media coverage that we've been garnering the past couple of months, we've been able to break down these misconceptions so that people can understand and see the realities that operators have to deal with and that they're facing on a daily basis, which is harassment, threats, intimidation, bullying, assaults on a daily basis by management, upper management, some members of the general public. Not the majority of the general public is they're great. They're great, but it's just that one passenger that you'll get every single day that will just ruin it for you and for everybody else, right? And these are the things that transit operators have to deal with. And so when the new hirees especially come on board, they can't last. They don't last. They don't want to last. And so they leave. One of the things that we've been doing is trying to get as much support as we can from the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, from the mayor's office, from community-based organizations, nonprofit organizations, so that people can understand and see the reality of what it is that a transit operator goes through. And it's just interesting how the agency can commit several different, how can I even say this nicely, bad things. They screw up quite often. And nothing happens to the agency in any way, shape, or form, but, you know, when an operator gets out of his or her bus to help out a passenger, the operator is oftentimes tried as a criminal. I myself was, I'm not going to get into my personal situation, I'm just going to make it a general, generic example. There's a young lady, transit operator, she got out of the bus to help out a passenger who was being assaulted outside of the vehicle. And the transit operator was lucky enough that she was able to help the person who was being assaulted. And the operator then got disciplined because supposedly she was not supposed to get out of her vehicle, even though any good Samaritan would have assisted in that assault, right? So instead of treating the operator like a hero, she was treated like a criminal. She was treated like a criminal. Yet the agency is not held criminally liable when they lay down rows and rows of railroad tracks that are incorrect and inferior, and then they have to go back and re-excavate everything and dig up the tracks and put in the correct, I think it was gauge, the correct gauge, train tracks, right? The muni meltdown that happened next year. I mean, who's being held accountable or responsible for any of this debacle, which I consider, you know, one of the best things one of the easiest ways that I like to describe it to the general public is the agency failed to plan or they planned to fail. Either way, they screwed up big time. So they have to be held accountable. One of my end goals in life at some point in time is I'd like to see some type of proposition to do away with the SFMTA, go back to the way it used to be and put it back into the hands of the general public, the city and county of San Francisco. Let it be in the hands of the ridership, the people that use the transit on a daily basis. Well, I guess with that being stated, there's nothing else that I'd like to say because, like I